so the final presentation of today's provocations is by Matt Fraser, who's an artist that we've had the pleasure of working with for many years at the Live Art Development Agency, and whose DVD we published about 3 years ago, Matt?
Yeah. Actually,
it was in Paralympic year, wasn't it?
2012. Yeah.
2012. So, enormous pleasure, Mr. Matt Fraser.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so when if you're interested in my work and the journey of it, which, you know, like all personal reflects the general and the political. So, you know, I'm not saying, hey, wow, my work's fantastic, but you will see a journey that I've gone on that may reflect other journeys. I'd love you to buy a copy if you can afford it. I'm fine with you bootlegging it as much as you want, but these guys actually own it, so perhaps you wouldn't do that. It's a joint ownership, yeah. But I've been very supported by Live Art Development Agency, by Lois and others, and you know, without their support and recognition of the fact that they needed to highlight more disenfranchised people, disabled people in particular, and fund them to do work and encourage them to do work. I was very encouraged to be funded to do new work. And without them doing that, I don't think I'd be here now. So, you know, I think they're very important people, and we should give a little bit back. And apply it to them. So when I started doing what I was doing, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a language for what I was doing, but I know that what I was offered didn't feel right. From a mainstream perspective, you know, they didn't want me in a school play. I didn't feel, you know, I was brought up by actors, and so I had this burning desire to be on the stage, and that's what I knew. But everywhere I went, it didn't feel right. It felt like people were embarrassed and awkward, and it just wasn't working. And I didn't have a language for why it didn't work until I discovered disability politics. And I'm a very political person. As I was just telling the African American immigration official who put me in the holding bay for the crime of not having thumbs. I see you've been arrested 2 times, once for demonstrating, she accusingly said. And I went, yes, I was actually demonstrating to get Nelson Mandela out of jail when he was being called a terrorist by our Prime Minister at the time. Nothing, I got nothing back from him for that. I suppose once you're an immigration officer, that takes over every other part of your personality. By the way, it's a bummer not having thumbs when you come into America these days, I can tell you that for nothing. So I didn't have a language, and then I discovered disability politics and disability rights. And at that time, you know, us Brits were very much calling it disabled people with a big D, politicised. A disability artist was an artist that had a disability that was talking about the social experience of disability in some way within their work. And we looked over the pond, and you guys, you know, the bottom line here is, at the beginning, we were shit at the art, but had fantastic politics. You guys, from our perspective, were less political, but fantastic production values. And in a way, we've all come and met in the middle now, I think, 15, 20 years later. We all understand what arts and disability arts, they have subtle differences, but they're roughly all becoming one and the same, and we're all in on it together. And what's great is that mainstream, and by mainstream I mean non-disabled in this instance, organisations are coming on board and helping fund us and want to be part of us. And once, you know, once they're doing that, then we feel more part of them, and then hopefully it's less us and them and talking about us and they, and more about a general we, which is something that I think would be good. And I've tried over the years, and God knows I've made many mistakes along the way. I've always used shock tactics, because I don't want to be the recipient of mainstream condescension shit from people. I will not put up with it, I just won't, and there's no reason why I should. I'd rather have a fight and get beaten up than be pissed on again. Except perhaps by you, which would be fine.
People pay good money for that.
Yeah, so and so, and you know, I'm a 6 foot, mostly heterosexual male, and I got a black belt, and I'm a super crip, and I suffer from all those constraints of mainstreaming cultural pressure on me, and I admit it, you know, I'm guilty, but I've still tried to do what I do. I tried changing, it didn't work. I just thought, you are who you are, Matt. You know, just do what you do, and hopefully it'll get better. And so in the art that I've done, I've tried to address certain things, access issues, political issues, very much sexuality. I think it's a really important thing. I think that, we can't become straight, we can't become white, but we can become disabled one day. We can wake up the next day, and that can happen. And everyone's scared of that, because the wrong people have been telling them what it's like. So, we have to tell them that actually it's fine. I quite like having these arms, and I get on fine, thanks very much. And, maybe I will become a wheelchair user, but I've got lots of friends who are wheelchair users as well, and I've kind of got a template for survival that isn't being told how awful it is to be confined to a wheelchair by non-disabled ambulant people. So, in my work, I've tried to address these issues, and I've used sexuality a lot. I used to use the word freak a lot before it was trendy, because like the word naked, it stops people, makes them look at the poster. And I'm very much showbiz trained. Find a good title, get the poster, make the show, hopefully people will come. And I still do that. I mean, when we devised Beauty and the Beast, we imagined the poster before anything else, because that's how we work. And in the live work that I've done, I got pissed off at not being understood by mainstream art, so I went wholeheartedly into disability art, which is great. And I was in a protective environment of supportive comrades, where I was able to mature the work that I was doing, have it critiqued by people whose opinions I could respect, and generally got a bit better at what I was doing. But after a while, I felt I was preaching to the converted. And I wanted, perhaps because I was brought up in a mainstream environment, I didn't go to a special school, I was ashamed of my disability, or calling myself disabled until I was 30, so perhaps because of composite of all those reasons, I've decided I wanted to go back into the mainstream, but with my agenda of disability, arts and rights strong, and not to be compromised. And so attempted to do that, and each interface into and out of each world came with a lot of problems and mistakes, but I was still willing to thrust it through. And when we started, there was nobody else. There was nobody else, and now there are lots of other people. And I want, I don't think I'm particularly great, but I do want my body of work to be recorded, archived, for new people coming along who are going to go, what Matt Fraser did was shit, I want to do this. No, it's only natural, and it has to happen. I'm disappointed that I haven't felt the angry steps of younger disabled people trying to tread on my back as they walk over to get their career, because that's how the world goes. Perhaps it's only how the world goes in, paternalist, post-Judeo-Christian capitalist society. Because I was doing a talk the other day and somebody just reduced everything I said to, yeah, but all of this is because of capitalism. And yeah, it is. Global capitalism. It's very scary, the awesome phrase you have to do with medical things. I find that very scary. The pharmaceutical industry's hold on America is terrifying to me. I just had an armpit cyst last for $600 at Manhattan. Very good treatment, but it would have been free in England. It would have been free for the National Health Service, who I'll never criticise again. Anyway, so devolving the mutant, I felt was a fair appraisal of the 10 years of work that this depicts. And it's also a sexy title, because I like sexy titles, and the word mutant still has a little agency to shock people and stop them and make them look, because freak doesn't work so much anymore. And if I were to show any, and I don't think I will show any, but if you were to peruse it and look, I would urge you to look at Kiss. Because what Kiss was there's an artist called Mark Quinn, and he's non-disabled, and he was part of the very famous Sensations, Damien Hirst, half a shark in formaldehyde, all the bad kids in British art scene. And he had done art history and not fine art. And he was really fascinated by the way Venus de Milo is considered an iconic emblem of beauty, but an actual live woman with no arms is considered ugly and lesser. And why is that? And so he wanted to cast into Greek-esque statues lots of misshapen different people to see if the same transformation happened. And he asked me and Catherine Long, who's another disability artist. She has an impairment which affects her walking, and one of her arms is missing, and asked us to recreate Rodin's The Kiss as lovers. And so we assumed a position and were cast and created the work. But we, as both proud disability artists, who acknowledged that what he, as a non-disabled person, was doing was in fact disability arts, But he's not saying, hey guys, I know what it's like to be disabled. He's going, this is a bit weird. Beauty, ugly, which is it? And just putting it out there for all of our consideration. And I'm totally down with that. But we're like, well, hold on though, because you're going to get so much money from this because you're so rich and famous. Talking about our shit in your galleries, we're only prepared to do this if we can have a video accompaniment that we will make, that you won't edit, that we have next to every single time you show it. And he went, yeah, all right. So we were like, oh, okay. So he went off, applied for funding, and made Kiss. I wrote the poem. Catherine filmed it and edited the film, and that became a video accompaniment to the actual physical statue of us in the exhibitions. And I thought that was a pretty good way of doing that. And one of the things I'm most proud of, because one of the things I'm most proud of as a piece of work is it's very layered, because it's two disability artists who have disabilities, who have their own bodies of work, collaborating together with their different mediums to create a further new piece of work that's a comment on a non-disabled person's disability art. And I'm, you know, I don't believe I've ever been involved in anything so sort of layered and complicated as that. And I think it's a really nice piece of work. It exemplifies my shock tactics. You know, I say you want to vomit when you look at us and stuff like that, because I like to push people by saying the unsayable. So have a look at it if you can. It also is a testament to the journey that I've been on. And the journey I go on, you know, I get pulled in all sorts of directions, because I mean, I love live art. I also like being on telly, on TV, and doing the weather. I used to, and doing the papers for the religious program on Sunday morning, which I used to do a little bit. Because I was just talking about crap in papers as a disabled person. We weren't mentioning my disability, but I felt it was normalising it to Middle England. Is normalising the right word? I don't know. Assimilating me into their armchair culture. And so I like to do everything, and sometimes I get sidetracked. And then I learned to let go and start working with other people. And this is, I think that's really important. Once you've got to a point where you feel reasonably confident in what you're doing, and you think you sort of know what you're doing, absolutely at that point, you need to throw yourself somewhere unknown. Because the worst thing for us is to think we know everything and know how we're doing everything. You know, I did learn. I am lucky that when I was 47, I had to completely change my entire life and throw away everything I knew and replace it with nothing known, because I changed my relationship. I fell in love with somebody else. And in order to pursue that, I had to do that. And it really liberated me as a human being, because there's no age at which you can go, right, no, I'm done now. I'm going to stop learning new stuff. There's no age. You can just keep doing it. It's only society that tells you that you should be doing stuff at certain ages. And so, it's enormously liberating to work with people whose voices and whose opinions you haven't had to deal with before, especially if they don't agree with yours. It's really healthy. And so when Julie, my current partner in art and life, suggested we do Beauty and the Beast, she was coming from a very, very different place to me. And we ended up with the Beast that we've got tonight, that hopefully some of you are able to come and see tonight. I think it's the best thing I've been involved in, but I think one of the reasons it is because I was able to let go and trust other people. And when I say other people, I mean non-disabled people in this respect, because you can be, it's very easy to only trust your own kind, you know, when historically, then the other people keep getting it wrong. And then beautiful things can happen. You know, one of the nicest things that ever happened to me once was a 10-year-old boy, a wheelchair user. I was on holiday with my ex. I had been on telly doing the papers and stuff a bit, and the kid came up to me and asked me for my autograph because I was the guy off TV. And you know, there was an unspoken knowledge that we were both disabled, but he wasn't. He was basically. I mean, I do not look like a guy with long arms in a wheelchair, but. The fact that there was someone disabled on TV connected with him, and now hopefully he, as what will now be a 16-year-old, will be thinking, you know, that guy was on TV, I can be on TV, you know. And so, as I become what Fella McDermott, who's the director of Shock-Headed Peter and Beauty and the Beast, says, Matt, now you're an elder. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But he said, no, what I mean is, once you get to a certain place in art and you've got a body of work behind you, and you start to look at younger artists and want to help them realise their ambitions, you are an elder. And one of the things I'm most proud of is that we were all shooting the shit one night, a load of Crips in New York, going, when is somebody going to make a porn film? You know, can you make non-disablest porn, or non-ableist porn as you would call it here? And we were like, you know, and I think it was Leslie Fry at the time, went, oh, please, stop talking about it, somebody just bloody do it. And somebody who's the actress called Mia Gim went, well, I'll be in it, and somebody who's the director here, called Clark Matthews, went, well, I'll direct it, and I said, well, fuck it, I'll produce it then. And all I had to do, and it cost me $300. all I had to do, I asked a guy with a camera and a bedroom. I'm very proud of this. It's Dee Dee Ramone's old bedroom at the Chelsea Hotel. Anyone who's into that shit, that's cool. Okay. We knocked it out of the park, right? And all I did was produce it. All I did was like be location manager, make sure they had the equipment, got a bagel or two, I seem to remember. Told people I had to get naked an hour before filming because of VPL, and stuff I'd learned backstage at strip joints. And we made this film that's won 3 awards, that's a seminal piece of disability art. It's genuinely erotic. I defy anyone to find it ist in any way. Somebody will, obviously, there's always somebody who can find it, it isn't somewhere. But it won Best Short at the Feminist Toronto Porn Awards. It won Best Kink at the Hump Homemade Seattle Porn Festival. And it won Best Short here, I think, at Cine Kink in New York. And if that isn't an example of an older disability artist recognising talent in younger disability artists and helping to facilitate something that's frankly quite easy to get together, I don't know what is. So I'm really proud of the journey that I've been on and the people I've met and the people who mentored me. But I was part of that first wave that didn't have people to look up to. You know, I joke that when I was younger, the only disabled people on TV I had to look up to was the blind teacher from the David Carradine series Kung Fu and Godzilla, the comedy monster from the Japanese movies, because I look at it like a T-Rex in profile. I joke about that, but that's the actual truth. There were no other people in television, and certainly not in film. You know, I'm not interested in the day of the life of Joe Egg. I'm interested in the work of John, help me out, the playwright, the disabled playwright who died. Yeah, John Beluso. You know, Piretown. There's some the monologues in Piretown that destroy me. We own it, and we show it, and we learn to get better. And along the way, we mustn't become secular. It ain't us and them. I think it's a big we, hopefully. And I know it sometimes is us and them when they show themselves to be the enemy, but you know, as we've seen with wars in the Ukraine and everything, if you don't communicate with somebody that you perceive to be your enemy, you ain't never going to make an agreement about anything. So that is all I would say. Is like, if you ever ask for my advice, and you'd be very dodgy if you ask for my advice, but you know, get better, be good at what you do, train, don't expect it. You're not owed it, you earn it. You are owed equality, and you should have that. But please don't get secular along the way, because you'll miss out on opportunity. Because if I'd only worked with disabled artists my whole life, I wouldn't have made Beauty and the Beast. Some non-disabled people out there are really hip and really cool, and they really know their shit, and they can help. And some of them have got money and a venue. And I'll say in all honesty how proud I am to be part of one of the most successful shows here at Abrams Arts Centre, which is where we got married, which is where our producers' children have piano lessons, which is where all the local people go, which is where the local pensioners sit outside when it's a nice day, and which is where we came and did our show about love. And it makes me brim with pride that we've created a new thing. And we've got to have the first few accessible performances. Yes. And I don't usually take opportunities to celebrate moments of nowness, but I don't believe I've ever been in a situation like this where I can genuinely celebrate a moment of nowness. So I'm taking this moment to do it in a public forum. So thank you. Having said that, my mind's already looking forward to the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act on the 26th of July, which is a Sunday in 2015. And you know the VSA are going to do something. And you know that the great and the good, Obamavilles, are all going to say how much they value Americans with disabilities, while Albuquerque cops are killing them right in front of us, right? And go booyah when they kill the mental guy. Well, I'm sorry, but that sounds fucked up. Okay, and so we still have a lot of work to do, and I believe that it is cool to be political and an artist, and I'm hoping that in a year and a half's time we'll have some caustic shit to throw in their face when they start telling us how awesome we are and giving us another ice cream.